This is Kim Jong Un.
Kim Jong Un, President of North Korea. Personal life, wealth, family, and secrets behind his dictatorship. Let me expose a comprehensive overview of his life and leadership. Kim Jong Un, the youngest son of Kim Jong Il, was born on January 8, 1983, or 1984, according to varying sources, in Pyongyang, North Korea. Details about his early life remain sparse due to the secrecy surrounding the Kim family. It is widely believed that he spent much of his youth in Switzerland, attending international schools under a pseudonym. During his time in Switzerland, he reportedly developed a passion for basketball, particularly admiring the NBA and players like Michael Jordan. Rise to power. Kim's ascent began in earnest in 2009 when he was appointed to the National Defense Commission. The following year, he was made a 4-star general despite lacking prior military experience. His father's death in December 2011 marked Kim's official rise to power. Shortly after, he was declared the supreme leader and took control of the Korean Workers' Party and the Central Military Commission, consolidating his authority, leadership and key policies. From the outset, Kim Jong Un focused on strengthening North Korea's military capabilities, particularly its nuclear weapons program. Between 2013 and 2017, he oversaw numerous nuclear tests, drawing widespread international condemnation. His aggressive stance on nuclear development escalated tensions with the US, especially during Donald Trump's presidency. The two leaders exchanged heated rhetoric, with Kim famously calling Trump a dotard, while Trump referred to him as Rocket Man. Despite these tensions, Kim made significant diplomatic overtures in 2018. He met with South Korean President Moon Jae-in and later with Donald Trump, marking the first ever meeting between a sitting US president and a North Korean leader. These summits, however, yielded limited concrete results regarding denuclearization. Family and personal life. Kim Jong Un is married to Ri Sol-ju, a former singer and cheerleader. The couple reportedly has 3 children, though little is known about them. Kim's family has played a complex role in his leadership. His aunt and uncle initially acted as advisors, but Kim later ordered the execution of his uncle, Jang Song-thaek, in 2013, solidifying his grip on power, health and succession concerns. Kim's health has been a subject of speculation for years. He has disappeared from public view on several occasions, prompting rumors of illness. Notably, in 2020, he missed significant public events, fueling concerns about his well-being. If Kim were to become incapacitated, questions remain about who would succeed him, as his children are too young, and a female leader, such as his sister Kim Yo-jong, would be unprecedented in North Korea's patriarchal system. Challenges and future prospects. North Korea faces ongoing economic challenges, exacerbated by international sanctions and the COVID-19 pandemic. Kim's leadership style, marked by a combination of repression and strategic engagement, continues to shape the country's trajectory. The regime's future, particularly concerning its nuclear ambitions and relations with the global community, remains uncertain. Kim Jong-un's father was Kim Jong-il, who ruled North Korea from 1994 until his death in 2011. Kim Jong-il's leadership was marked by the continuation of the Kim family's autocratic rule, characterized by a highly centralized government, a strong military focus, and the development of nuclear weapons. Kim Jong-il was known for his secretive nature and a lavish lifestyle, while also maintaining a firm grip on power through purges and the establishment of a strong personality cult. Kim Jong-il's father was Kim Il-sung, the founding leader of North Korea and the first leader of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, DPRK. Kim Il-sung ruled North Korea from its establishment in 1948 until his death in 1994. His rule was characterized by the Juche ideology, a form of self-reliance that became the guiding principle of North Korean governance. Kim Il-sung's regime was also notable for its strong personality cult, the emphasis on military development, and the totalitarian control he maintained over the country. Separation of Korea and the struggle for independence. Korea's division into North and South was not a sudden event but the result of prolonged historical processes. Korea was unified as one nation for over 1,000 years until its partition after World War II. The Japanese Empire occupied Korea from 1910 until the end of World War II in 1945. Following Japan's defeat, Korea was liberated, but it was divided along the 38th parallel into two occupation zones, with the Soviet Union occupying the north and the United States occupying the south. This division was initially intended to be temporary, with plans to reunify the country. But Cold War tensions between the Soviet Union and the US led to the establishment of two separate Korean states in 1948, North Korea under the leadership of Kim Il-sung, backed by the Soviet Union, and South Korea under Syngman Rhee, backed by the US. The Korean War, 1950 to 1953, further solidified the division. The war was a direct result of the ideological conflict between the Communist North, led by Kim Il-sung, and the anti-Communist South, backed by the US. The war ended in an armistice agreement in 1953, leaving the peninsula still divided. But it did not result in a peace treaty, meaning the two Koreas technically remain in a state of war to this day. Dynasty and control. The Kim family's control over North Korea has remained largely unchallenged since the country's formation. Kim Il-sung established a dynastic rule, passing leadership to his son, Kim Jong-il, who in turn passed it to his son, Kim Jong Un. This dynastic succession in what is essentially a monarchical system in a supposed socialist state is a unique feature of North Korea, making it one of the last remaining communist dynasties in the world. Thus, the separation of Korea, the struggle for independence from Japan, and the subsequent Cold War dynamics ultimately laid the foundation for the Kim family's rule over North Korea, a situation that has lasted through 3 generations now. The family's grip on power remains one of the most tightly controlled regimes in the world today. The reason why the Kim family has ruled North Korea since its separation in 1948 lies in the highly personalized, dynastic nature of the country's political system. Kim Il-sung, the founder of North Korea, established a one-party, totalitarian regime that became firmly intertwined with his personal leadership and ideology. His rule was characterized by the creation of a strong personality cult, and he consolidated power through purges of rivals and the establishment of a rigid, centralized government. This system was inherited by his son, Kim Jong-il, and later by his grandson, Kim Jong Un. The Kim family rule has persisted due to several factors. Juche ideology. Kim Il-sung's juche, self-reliance, ideology became the foundation of North Korean governance, solidifying his role as the eternal president. This system established the state's legitimacy as closely linked to the family's leadership, making it difficult for power to transition to anyone outside the family. Cult of personality. The Kim family, especially Kim Il-sung, built an immense cult of personality that positioned the leader as a near-divine figure. This continued with his son, Kim Jong-il, and grandson, Kim Jong-un. The family became synonymous with the nation's identity, making it hard for any political transition to occur without the Kim family's involvement. Suppression of opposition. The Kim regime maintained a strict monopoly on power through mass surveillance, purges, and repression. Political opposition was crushed through imprisonment, execution, and other methods. This created an atmosphere where the Kim family could not only maintain control but also prevent any challenge to their dynasty from arising within the country. North Korea. Democracy or dictatorship. North Korea is not a democracy. It is a totalitarian dictatorship led by the Kim family. Despite North Korea's constitution theoretically outlining democratic principles, such as universal suffrage, the country has never held free and fair elections. Power is strictly controlled by the ruling Kim family, and all political activities and decisions are heavily centralized. The leadership operates under a system of absolute loyalty to the Kim family, with dissent or opposition being brutally suppressed. The government controls nearly every aspect of the citizens' lives, from their movements to their access to information. This centralized control is maintained through a mixture of surveillance, coercion, and indoctrination. The killing of Kim Jong Nam, Kim Jong Un's half-brother, Kim Jong Nam, was assassinated in 2017 at Kuala Lumpur International Airport in Malaysia. The killing was widely believed to have been orchestrated by the North Korean regime, although North Korean officials consistently denied involvement. Kim Jong Nam was a vocal critic of the North Korean regime and had lived in exile for several years, primarily in China and Malaysia. He was considered a potential rival to Kim Jong Un, and there were reports that he had expressed distaste for his younger brother's leadership. The circumstances surrounding Kim Jong Nam's death are suspicious. He was attacked by two women, Siti Aizia and Doan Thi Hieng, who smeared a toxic nerve agent, Vida, on his face in broad daylight. The women later claimed that they were duped into thinking they were participating in a prank for a television show, though it is widely believed that they were used as pawns by the North Korean government. Both women were eventually released after lengthy legal proceedings, with Siti Aizia being freed in 2019 and Doan Thi Hieng's charges dropped shortly thereafter. The motive behind Kim Jong Nam's murder is generally understood to be a result of Kim Jong Un's desire to eliminate any potential threats to his rule. Kim Jong Nam, despite being in exile, could have been seen as a challenge to Kim Jong Un's leadership, especially if he had ever sought to gain support from outside North Korea. The assassination sent a clear message to anyone who might consider opposing the Kim regime. The Kim family's dynastic rule of North Korea stems from a combination of ideological control, the creation of a personality cult, and the violent suppression of dissent. North Korea remains a totalitarian dictatorship under Kim Jong Un, and the assassination of Kim Jong Nam is just one example of the extreme measures taken to maintain power and eliminate perceived threats. The Kim family's control over the country shows no signs of weakening, and as long as the regime remains in place, the country's politics will likely remain firmly under the Kim family's grip. Why internet is restricted in North Korea? In North Korea, the internet is heavily restricted for the general population. The vast majority of North Koreans do not have access to the global internet. Instead, they are allowed to use a domestic intranet system known as Kwangmyong, which is a closed network that only provides access to state-approved content. The government controls all online activities, ensuring that citizens cannot access information from outside the country or visit websites that might present dissenting views, particularly those that could challenge the regime's narrative. The primary reasons for this restriction include control of information. By limiting internet access, the regime ensures that it can control the flow of information, restricting access to foreign media, news, and content that could influence the population's views or foster dissent. This helps maintain the government's tightly controlled ideology and reduces exposure to outside influences that might undermine the regime. Political stability. The government fears that allowing unrestricted access to the internet could expose the population to ideas and opinions that challenge the Kim family's absolute rule. It is concerned that outside information could trigger dissent, protests, or movements that demand political change. National security. North Korea's leadership views unrestricted internet access as a potential threat to national security. The country's isolationist stance means that the regime fears foreign influence, espionage, or cyber attacks that could destabilize the political system. Sanctions on North Korea. North Korea has been subjected to a wide range of international sanctions due to its controversial nuclear weapons program, human rights abuses, and various provocations. The United Nations, the United States, the European Union, and other countries have imposed sanctions aimed at curbing the country's nuclear and missile development, as well as restricting trade and financial activities. Some key sanctions include nuclear and missile sanctions. UN Security Council resolutions have imposed sanctions that limit North Korea's ability to import and export goods related to nuclear weapons and missile development, including technologies for missile guidance systems, rocket engines, and other advanced technologies. These sanctions also ban the export of coal, iron, and other mineral resources which are used to fund the regime's weapons program. Trade sanctions. North Korea is banned from trading a variety of goods internationally, particularly in sectors like banking, coal, textiles, and arms. Sanctions have severely limited its ability to engage in trade with other countries. Financial sanctions. North Korean banks and financial institutions are often targeted by sanctions, making it difficult for the regime to access international financial markets and conduct business abroad. Oil and energy restrictions. Several sanctions have restricted North Korea's access to oil and other forms of energy, further straining its economy. Relations with other countries. North Korea's international relations are largely defined by its isolationist policies. However, it does have several key allies and adversaries. Allies. China. North Korea's primary ally is China, which has supported the regime politically and economically. China has been North Korea's biggest trading partner and provides essential aid, particularly in the form of food and energy. However, the relationship is often complex, with China urging North Korea to curb its nuclear ambitions while continuing to support the regime. Diplomatically. Russia. Russia has also maintained a relatively friendly relationship with North Korea, particularly in terms of diplomatic and trade ties. While not as close as China, Russia shares a border with North Korea and has supported the regime in international forums. Adversaries. United States. North Korea's relationship with the United States is marked by tension, especially over its nuclear weapons program. The US has led the international community in imposing sanctions on North Korea and has had a hostile relationship with the regime, though there have been occasional efforts at diplomacy, such as the summits between Kim Jong Un and US President Donald Trump. South Korea. North Korea's relationship with South Korea is volatile, with periods of tense standoffs and brief moments of dialogue. Despite occasional attempts at reconciliation and diplomacy, the countries remain technically at war since the Korean War ended in 1953 without a peace treaty. Relations are particularly strained due to the differing political systems and the presence of US military forces in South Korea. Japan. North Korea's relationship with Japan is similarly antagonistic, especially due to issues related to North Korea's missile tests and the abduction of Japanese citizens by North Korean agents in the past. Nuclear power status. Yes, North Korea is a nuclear power. The country has conducted several nuclear weapons tests, with its first test occurring in 2006. Since then, it has conducted multiple tests, claiming to have developed a hydrogen bomb, thermonuclear weapon, and intercontinental ballistic missiles, ICBMs, capable of reaching the United States. North Korea has publicly stated its intention to develop a credible nuclear deterrent in the face of perceived threats, particularly from the United States. Despite widespread international condemnation and sanctions, the regime has continued to advance its nuclear weapons program. North Korea's nuclear capability remains one of the most contentious issues in international politics today. Weather and climate in North Korea. North Korea experiences a continental climate, characterized by harsh winters and hot, humid summers. The country's weather can vary significantly based on the region, but the climate is predominantly cold in the winter, especially in the northern parts. Coldest months. The coldest months are typically December, January, and February, when temperatures can plunge to well below freezing. Snow is common during these months, particularly in the northern and mountainous areas. Summer. The summer months, June to August, are hot and humid, with temperatures often exceeding 30 degrees Celsius, 86 degrees Fahrenheit. In some regions, the country experiences heavy rainfall during the monsoon season, particularly in July and August. Spring and autumn. These seasons are milder but still subject to temperature fluctuations, with cool temperatures in the spring and mild, pleasant weather in autumn. Travel to North Korea. Travel to North Korea is highly restricted, and tourism is tightly controlled by the government. Foreigners can visit the country, but only through organized tours. The tours are usually guided by state-approved tour operators, and visitors must adhere strictly to the rules set by the regime. Tourists are generally prohibited from freely exploring the country, and most of the visit is restricted to highly controlled areas in Pyongyang, the capital. Visa. Visitors to North Korea must obtain a visa, which is typically arranged through one of the few approved travel agencies. The visa process can be lengthy and requires submission of documents. It's rare to get a visa for more than a few days. Most visitors spend between 3 to 5 days in the country, depending on the tour they choose. Restrictions on travel. Tourists are not allowed to interact freely with local North Koreans or photograph certain locations, such as military sites or government buildings. Additionally, tourists must remain with their guides throughout their visit. In conclusion, North Korea is a highly isolated country with strict controls over its citizens' access to the outside world, particularly the internet. Its relationships with other nations are mostly adversarial, with the notable exception of its ties to China and Russia. North Korea's status as a nuclear power has led to international tensions, and the country's weather and climate reflect the challenges its population faces. Travel to North Korea is possible, but it is subject to stringent government restrictions. Can Kim Jong Un speak English? Kim Jong Un, the supreme leader of North Korea, is believed to have some proficiency in English, though his fluency is not widely known or documented in detail. It is reported that he was educated at Kim Il-sung University in Pyongyang and later attended Switzerland's International School of Bern under a false identity during his youth. During his time in Switzerland, he was said to have spoken English fluently, but since his rise to power, there have been few instances where he has been seen speaking in English publicly. Most of his speeches and communications are in Korean, and he relies on interpreters when engaging with foreign leaders. How many wives does Kim Jong Un have? Kim Jong Un is known to have one wife, Ri Sol-ju, who is often seen accompanying him in public appearances. She is a former singer and has served in various roles within the regime. Although there have been rumors and speculations about other relationships, Ri Sol-ju is the only officially recognized wife of Kim Jong Un. They married sometime in the early 2000s and have 3 children, although their identities and ages remain largely unknown due to the secretive nature of the regime. Personal planes, cars, trains, and boats. Kim Jong Un, like his predecessors, enjoys the privileges of an extravagant lifestyle, including the use of a variety of transportation. However, precise numbers are often difficult to verify due to the secrecy surrounding his personal assets. Planes. Kim Jong Un is known to travel on a specially equipped private jet, a Russian-made Ilyushin Il-62M. The plane is often heavily guarded and customized for his use with advanced communication and security features. Additionally, he may use smaller aircraft for domestic travel or short trips. Cars. The North Korean leader reportedly uses a fleet of luxury vehicles, including armored limousines that ensure his safety. One of his most famous vehicles is the Mercedes-Benz S600 Pullman Guard, known for its bulletproof capabilities. Other high-end cars are also in his possession, but exact numbers are not disclosed. Trains. Kim Jong Un is known to use an armored train for travel, which is highly secure and designed to withstand attacks. It is equipped with living quarters, office space, and even a helicopter for additional security measures. The train is often used for long trips, especially when visiting key locations in North Korea or neighboring countries. Boats. It is also rumored that Kim Jong Un has access to private boats and yachts, though fewer details are available about their specifics. Size of North Korea's army, navy, and air force. North Korea boasts one of the largest militaries in the world, and its armed forces are a central pillar of the regime's identity and policy. Here are some key figures. Army. North Korea's ground force is the largest component of its military, with estimates suggesting it includes about 1.2 million active duty personnel. The country also has reserve forces numbering in the millions, making its army one of the most populous globally. Navy. The North Korean Navy is large in terms of ships, but its vessels are often considered outdated and less capable compared to those of other countries. It is estimated to have around 60,000 active duty personnel and a fleet of more than 1,000 ships, including submarines. However, the Navy is less technologically advanced than other world powers. Air Force. North Korea's Air Force is composed of around 100,000 personnel. It operates a mixture of Soviet-era aircraft and some newer Chinese and domestic designs. It is estimated that North Korea has around 1,000 aircraft, including fighters, bombers, and transport planes, though many of these are considered outdated compared to modern air forces. GDP per capita of North Korea. North Korea's GDP per capita is estimated to be around $1,300 to $1,500 USD as of the latest available reports. 2019-2020. This is extremely low, reflecting the country's command economy, ongoing sanctions, and a lack of international trade. The nation's economy is largely controlled by the state, with very little private enterprise, and most of the population works in state-run industries or the military. North Korea's economy has struggled due to the ongoing sanctions and isolation from the global market. Comparative context. For comparison, North Korea's GDP per capita is significantly lower than its neighbor South Korea, which has a GDP per capita of over $30,000. North Korea's economic performance is heavily constrained by its political system and lack of economic freedom. Main sources of income for North Korea. North Korea's economy is highly centrally planned and highly dependent on a few primary sources of income: military spending and weapons exports. The North Korean military complex is a significant source of income, both in terms of domestic production and the export of weapons and military technologies. The regime has long been involved in illegal arms trading with countries that are willing to bypass international sanctions. Mineral resources. North Korea is rich in mineral resources, including coal, iron ore, gold, and rare earth elements. These resources are mined and exported, though sanctions have severely curtailed this trade. China is a key trading partner for these exports. Textiles. The country also generates income through the textile industry, particularly in exports to China. North Korea operates labor-intensive factories that produce garments, which are then exported. Agriculture and forestry. North Korea also relies on agriculture, particularly rice and maize, for both internal consumption and limited export. Foreign aid and remittances. North Korea receives foreign humanitarian aid from countries like China and South Korea, which helps sustain the regime. Additionally, it is reported that some income is derived from remittances from North Koreans working abroad, primarily in Russia and China. Major imports and exports of North Korea. North Korea's economy is largely isolated, and its imports and exports are tightly controlled, with key relationships existing mostly with China and a few other countries. Here is an overview of North Korea's main imports and exports. Exports. Minerals. Coal, iron ore, and other minerals are the primary exports of North Korea, though these are heavily restricted due to sanctions. Textiles. As mentioned, textiles make up a significant portion of North Korea's exports, especially to China. Fish and seafood. North Korea exports fish and seafood, particularly to China. Weapons. Despite international sanctions, North Korea is believed to export weapons, including small arms, missiles, and military technologies, to countries that bypass international restrictions. Imports. Oil and petroleum products. North Korea imports significant quantities of oil and petroleum products, primarily from China, due to sanctions. These imports have been severely restricted in recent years. Machinery and equipment. North Korea imports machinery for its industrial sector, though the amount is limited by sanctions. Consumer goods. The regime imports a variety of consumer goods, including electronics and luxury items, but these imports are restricted due to the government's prioritization of military spending. Food and agricultural products. North Korea imports food and agricultural products, especially during times of food scarcity caused by poor domestic harvests. Kim Jong Un's reign is characterized by a tightly controlled economy, limited global engagement, and a strong military presence. His leadership is defined by the state's focus on nuclear development, military strength, and control over information, despite the poverty and economic struggles of the general population. The regime continues to prioritize military spending and the development of weapons of mass destruction. North Korea's status as an isolated dictatorship is reflected in its limited foreign relations, reliance on China for both trade and political support, and its significant military presence. While the country's GDP per capita is among the lowest globally, its sources of income are focused on arms trade, minerals, textiles, and remittances. Sanctions continue to impact its economy, while the regime's aggressive stance on nuclear weapons and military development ensures that it remains in a state of adversity with many global powers. Kim Jong Un's wealth, the distribution of his assets after his death, and the involvement of his family in his leadership legacy are complex topics intertwined with North Korea's strict secrecy and highly controlled information flow. Here's an overview based on available information. Wealth left behind by Kim Jong Un. If Kim Jong Un were to die today, the distribution of his wealth would likely remain shrouded in secrecy, given North Korea's highly opaque system and the country's lack of financial transparency. However, several key points can be inferred based on the political system and the nature of the regime. State-controlled assets. Most of Kim Jong Un's wealth would likely be tied to state-controlled assets and the military-industrial complex rather than personal wealth. North Korea's economy is state-run, and the wealth of the ruling Kim family is not easily distinguished from the wealth of the state. Kim Jong Un's personal wealth is intertwined with his control over North Korea's government and military assets. Kim dynasty wealth. The Kim family has accumulated wealth and power over generations, dating back to Kim Il-sung's reign. This wealth includes not only economic resources but also control over key industries, military contracts, and foreign aid. Kim Jong Un likely inherited this accumulated wealth, including luxury goods, and his wealth would be secured through state-owned and military assets. Foreign assets. Although there are no concrete figures or reliable information, the Kim family has been reported to own properties abroad in countries such as Switzerland and Macau. These properties could be inherited or passed on to the next generation. Military and strategic assets. Given the militarization of North Korea's economy, the assets tied to weapons programs, military technology, and production lines are key resources that the Kim family controls. These would likely continue to benefit the family, especially Kim Jong Un's successor, as the regime's wealth is deeply intertwined with its military-industrial complex. Who benefited from Kim Jong Un's wealth? The primary beneficiaries of Kim Jong Un's wealth and assets would likely be the members of the ruling Kim family and key figures in the North Korean elite. This includes Kim Jong Un's immediate family. The inheritance of power would likely be passed on to his children. It is speculated that Kim Jong Un has 3 children, although their identities and ages are not publicly confirmed. His sister, Kim Yo-jong, is also seen as a powerful figure in North Korean politics and could play a significant role in maintaining the family's control over the country if she succeeds him. Powerful elites. North Korea's elite class, including members of the military and political apparatus, are likely to benefit from the Kim family's continued control. These elites are often rewarded with wealth, special privileges, and economic opportunities in exchange for loyalty to the regime. Where are Kim Jong Un's family members now? Kim Jong Un's family members, including his children, siblings, and relatives, are likely living in North Korea, though their exact activities and locations are not publicly known due to the regime's secrecy. Kim Yo-jong, Kim Jong Un's sister. Kim Yo-jong is one of the most visible and powerful members of the family. She has served in various high-ranking positions, including a political office and as a diplomatic representative. Her role has expanded in recent years, and she is widely considered one of the most powerful women in North Korea. If Kim Jong Un were to die, She might be a key figure in maintaining the power structure, though the leadership succession process remains uncertain. Other relatives. The exact status and whereabouts of other family members, such as Kim Jong Un's brothers and sisters, are not publicly known. However, Kim Jong Un's brothers have been involved in the regime in the past, though they have fallen out of favor or died under mysterious circumstances. Kim Jong Nam. Kim Jong Un's older half-brother, Kim Jong Nam, was once considered a possible successor. However, he was assassinated in 2017 at the Kuala Lumpur airport in Malaysia under mysterious circumstances, allegedly poisoned by 2 women. The assassination is believed to have been orchestrated by North Korean agents, possibly with Kim Jong Un's involvement or approval, due to fears that Kim Jong Nam might attempt to claim leadership. Kim Jong Chul. Kim Jong Un's older brother Kim Jong Chul is reportedly not involved in politics and is known for his love of music. It is unlikely he would assume any leadership role, given his low profile, inherited profession and business. The Kim family's profession is based around totalitarian rule and military control. Kim Jong Un has inherited this role and continues to uphold the dynastic leadership system, established by his grandfather, Kim Il-sung, and maintained by his father, Kim Jong-il. North Korea has not transitioned to a more conventional economy or political system, but remains focused on military dictatorship and maintaining control through fear, propaganda, and authoritarian rule. The family business is the North Korean regime itself, and its wealth stems from military control, mineral exports, and the management of state-run enterprises. North Korea's military-industrial complex serves as a key economic driver, and this is something the Kim family has controlled for generations. Kim Jong-un's romantic life and relationships. Kim Jong-un's romantic life is highly private, but some details are known. Wife. His official wife is Ri Sol-ju, whom he married in the early 2000s. Ri is a former singer and has accompanied him on various public appearances, even taking part in state affairs. Rumors of other relationships. While there are rumors and speculations about Kim Jong-un's relationships with other women, very little reliable information exists about boyfriends or girlfriends before or after his marriage to Ri Sol-ju. North Korea's official propaganda rarely covers personal matters unless they align with the regime's image of family values. Potential threats to Kim Jong-un's leadership. Kim Jong-un's leadership has been challenged by several internal and external threats. Internal threats. The North Korean elite and the military remain the backbone of his power. A power struggle within the elite or among members of the Kim family could threaten his rule, as seen in the assassination of his brother Kim Jong-nam. Kim Jong-un's authoritarian regime relies on maintaining a balance of power within the elite and avoiding internal uprisings or defections. External threats. Foreign pressure from South Korea, the United States, and China could pose a threat to his leadership. Tensions over nuclear weapons, human rights abuses, and sanctions could destabilize the regime, especially if there were significant economic collapse or international military intervention. Succession. Kim Jong-un's health has occasionally been the subject of speculation, and his succession plan remains unclear. There is no obvious heir apart from his sister, Kim Yo-jong. Any uncertainties about succession could lead to instability or power struggles among the ruling elite. Economic struggles. North Korea's economic isolation and the continued sanctions could strain the country's resources and undermine Kim Jong-un's ability to maintain control. If the economy worsens significantly, discontent among the people could grow, leading to possible civil unrest. Kim Jong-un's wealth, family involvement, and succession plans remain shrouded in secrecy due to the nature of the regime. While his immediate family, especially Kim Yo-jong, is poised to benefit from his position, his rule faces both internal challenges from the ruling elite and external pressures from the international community. The Kim dynasty's wealth is intricately tied to military power and state resources, making it difficult to separate personal wealth from state assets. His death, if it were to occur, would likely lead to a power struggle or continuation of the regime's dynastic leadership. but it would be dependent on maintaining the loyalty of the military and key elites.